What is up, Mizzou fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com, covering your Missouri Tigers. He's Braden Dowers. It's finally the border war. We've got previews and predictions. You're not going to want to miss it right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, Missouri Tigers fans, it is finally time. We are at that point in the week where we're going to preview the border war between the Missouri Tigers and the Kansas Jayhawks, who come into Columbia looking to pull off an upset. But I think Brayden and I are here to tell you we're saying not so fast. I think there's a lot of Kansas fans out there this week that genuinely believe they're the better team and that this game is going to be a no-doubter for them. But Brayden, I know, is very passionate about talking about this game and wants to give a history lesson to a lot of Kansas fans out there. But, I mean, look, before anything else, Brayden, I mean, what are your general thoughts and feelings heading into this one?
Anger, hatred, every single negative emotion that you could possibly be feeling has been culminating in my body for 21 years of life, 15 years of memorable life. I was 6 years old the last time that Missouri and Kansas played in a football game. I don't remember it. I was not into football at that point in my life. I have zero recollection of Mizzou playing Kansas. But oh my God, has it ever been installed in me that I fucking hate the Jayhawks. I absolutely despise them, especially after learning about them in high school and throughout college, what the Jayhawkers were. And we'll get into that later. But right now we're going to talk about some football. I'll make sure to go into my history lesson because I have an entire spiel ready to really educate people on what the Jayhawkers were and what the Missouri Tigers were in the Civil War. But about football, Kansas has Jalen Daniels, pretty similar name to Jaden Daniels, and that scares me. That's about the only thing that scares me. What doesn't scare me is Kansas's defense that has no good linebackers. Ahmad Hardy's going to absolutely kill them. Their defensive line is fine. Their offensive line was too busy getting absolutely
pushed around by Wagner?
Wagner, Josh.
School of the
Wagner,
blind.
absolutely, yeah.
And I actually mentioned it. I mentioned it in the last video we did, but Wagner was about, I'm guesstimating here because I don't have it right in front of me anymore, but they were about 100 spots below Central Arkansas, just to put into perspective how bad they are.
Like their offensive line got pushed around by Wagner. Whenever me and my girlfriend went to the Fresno State versus Kansas game, Fresno State bullied Kansas's defensive line. Fresno State was able to get a lot of holds out of Kansas's offense, and Fresno State is a significantly more respectable team than Wagner, but they're not Missouri. Damon Wilson, Zion Young, Darius Smith, they're going to absolutely maul Kansas's offensive line, and Jalen Daniels is going to be running for his life, and I know that's what he's good at doing.
Yeah,
but he hasn't faced Mizzou yet. And that Columbia Faurot Field is going to be absolutely rocking. Like that place is going to be unbelievably loud. Mr. Brightside's going to be playing the entire day. Instead of saying MIZZOU, it's going to be MIZFKU. The entire atmosphere is going to be insane. I cannot wait to get there. Bo Pribula is probably going to be able to run all over the Kansas linebackers that aren't there anymore. Our wide receiver core, I think, is better than theirs. And as long as Mizzou can come into this game and punch them in the mouth immediately, get out to a 7-0 lead, get a quick 3-and-out, score another touchdown, this game's going to be an absolute runaway. There is an avenue where I think Kansas keeps it close for the first half, but Mizzou then runs away with the second half. So those are the two legitimate only outcomes that I see for this game. And there are Kansas fans that are just so confident that they think that they're going to keep this game competitive and think that they're going to win. And yes, they have good players. They have good talent. but they act like Lance Leipold is a god for them. They went 5-7 last year. Their quarterback coach, who was a part of the same offensive staff as last year, is now their offensive coordinator. Like, I'm not sure how getting rid of Jeff Grimes and bringing in somebody who is still under Jeff Grimes is going to make this team any better, because I don't see the play calling getting any better, because they're going to do nothing but force deep balls like they did all of last year, and like they can, like, kind of what they did against Wagner. They forced a bunch of deep balls. They're absolutely abysmal at play calling in the red zone. Those are mistakes that you're not going to be able to make against Missouri, and I feel like they're going to, because, like I said, Thoreau's going to be rocking, and as long as Mizzou punches them in the mouth first, this game is going to be over quick.
Wow, so pretty strong predictions and thoughts there from you right off the bat. A lot to unpack, and I promise I do want to get into the football, but I want to go back to kind of the emotion you showed at the beginning, because I mean, like you said, you know, you hardly remember the last time these two teams played in football.
I have no memory of these two teams playing.
However, however, the hatred is still there, though, and I think you're a good example, a good representation of a lot of young Mizzou fans. It's been instilled into them to hate Kansas, and I do think a lot of the fans understand the rivalry. But as far as the players go, you know, I talked about this in the sort of preview I did with the Kansas perspective guys on here, and I said, you know, I think the players, especially in the transfer portal era, they don't have the same ties to the university, so even they totally don't understand it, and I think they still won't until they take the field, or when they see the fans' reaction to the Kansas Jayhawks taking the field in Columbia. I just think a lot of them won't get it until then. But I think there's been a stark contrast in the way Lance Leipold has approached this game and the way Eli Drinkwitz has approached this game. I think Eli Drinkwitz, ever since he's come to Mizzou, has really made a conscious effort to, you know, enthrall himself in the history of the Missouri Tigers program and also that rivalry. He's brought in Civil War historians and players and coaches and speakers all summer to educate the players on this rivalry. And I think he's at least done more than Lance Leipold, who, you know, has recognized the weight of this rivalry, but I don't think he sees it as a game bigger than any other on their schedule. That's kind of the vibe that I get from Lance Leipold. And Dennis Gates took a similar approach to the first time Kansas came back in basketball. And I think he found out very quickly it's not just another game. And his team got punched in the mouth. And I think he came back better prepared the next time around. Now, they still lost, but then they eventually did get over the top last basketball season. But my main point is I think Eli Drinkwitz has done a tremendously better job than Lance Leipold communicating how important this game is. And I think you're going to see that very quickly when this game starts, that one coach is a lot more prepared than the other, or at least put a lot more effort into preparing for this game than the other.
I 1,000,000% agree with you. Lance Leipold looks like an absolute tomato face on in his press conferences, trying to talk about Mizzou. He gets red in the face. He looks nervous. He doesn't know what to say.
He looks like a Jayhawk.
Yeah. He's red in the face beaker. But no, genuinely, like, Leipold is just kind of treating this as another game. Maybe he's doing stuff behind the scenes, but Chase Daniel has said that almost every single Mizzou player is coming back for this. Like, everybody is coming back for this game, and good. Like, everybody is coming back for this. Drink made sure to have everybody come back. Border War, he had historians come in to explain to them the importance of this rivalry and the history of this game to the players, to install it into them, how fucking important this is. Because this is incredibly important. Because if we lose to Kansas, I genuinely don't know if I can care about the rest of the season. I don't care if we go 11-1. If that one loss is to Kansas, I don't really care, because after the South Carolina game, if we win that, I'm going to go, man, this would be a lot better if we had beaten Kansas. If we beat A&M or Alabama, same thing. If we beat Oklahoma, same thing. Everything hinges on this game. The season does not matter unless we win this game. Just flat out.
And I said
that's just how it is. That's how college football is. Your entire college football is about making your rival's life more miserable. That's the entire point of college football. It's not about your own season. It's about making your other rival's season miserable. And if we lose to Kansas, our rest of the season is miserable, no matter what.
Yeah, so I've said this before on this channel multiple times, and I said it in the other video that I just did talking about this game. But Drinkwitz, I don't know if I can look at him the same ever again if he loses this game.
No, I can't. I really can't. And I want to touch on what you said about Dennis. I 100% agree with you. That is a fantastic comparison because the way that Leipold and the way that Dennis approached the first Kansas game, that they coached very similar approaches. And what happened to Dennis was we got absolutely punched in the mouth and we couldn't come back. And Bill Self knows this rivalry and he knew exactly what to do coming into Columbia, Missouri for the first time. And he executed it to a T. Dennis learned from that and corrected his mistakes really quick. And Leipold might have to do that next year at the booth. And we might be talking about a completely different story next year. Excuse me. But for this year, right now, I think that Drinkwitz is so much more prepared than the message that Leipold is at least giving to the media and what it makes it seem like his importance is and his how prepared he is and just his presence in this game. It feels a little checked out.
Yeah, and I think Drinkwitz and I know we all hate when they bring this up because it's just so stupid and easily disprovable. But the whole thing about us supposedly ducking Kansas in a bowl game a couple years ago, I think Drinkwitz is absolutely pissed off about that narrative and hasn't forgotten. And he wants to have a result where you just beat them so bad that you're just like, yeah, this conversation's ridiculous, you know?
Yeah. Because it's been disproven multiple times that we didn't duck them, yet that's a narrative that Kansas fans love rolling with. So I'm just going to keep rolling with the fact that Kelly Leipold said that Kansas fans don't show up, which they don't because they can't sell out their 41,000 seat stadium against fucking Wagner. You can't get 41,000 students to a Friday night football game when it's 75 degrees out. Pathetic. 41,000, second smallest in FBA or in Power 4.
Yeah.
You can't sell it out.
And
fucking losers.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I don't keep up with the stadium project, but the stadium it's not full capacity right now still, is it? Aren't they still under construction?
It is. No, it's completely done. They just haven't redone the other side, which I think is going to lower capacity even more.
Yeah, I think it is. But no, I was curious about that. No, anyway, so I look, and we're going to break down all the X's and O's and different categories and stuff like that too. But I just every time I think about this game and think about the talent that Mizzou has, the fact that they're at home, like we just discussed with Lance Leipold, I think Drinkwitz is the more prepared coach in this game. I also think the coordinators play a massive role. You kind of touched on Kansas's OC and how you don't see the hype there, and I totally agree. But also, I think Kirby Moore is a giant asset in a game like this because you just know he's been in the film room, cooking up all sorts of different plays. We already know he runs a lot of different plays out of the same set. You can see a set from Kirby Moore and he could go 100 different ways with it. And I just think he's going to be a huge asset in a game like this. But also what kind of makes me confident when I think about this matchup is I look at the talent, I look at everything in Missouri's favor. And I think the only way Kansas could come away with a victory in this one is if Jalen Daniels just plays out of his mind and carries Kansas to a victory. And even that's really hard to see happening because I just think this Missouri defense is elite and there's just all Americans and NFL prospects littered all over. And and I really tried emphasizing that when I did the Behind the Enemy Lines video with the Kansas guys, both on my channel and also their channel. But I really tried conveying, I don't think Kansas fans quite understand, how much talent Mizzou
this
has.
defense is.
Yeah, especially on defense. And look, I'm not saying that alone is going to win you the game. We know that's not always the case in college football. Yeah. Definitely not. Because I mentioned how, you've had a lot of mediocre Auburn teams that gave Alabama fits in the Iron Bowl before. And that's just how rivalries are in college football. But Kansas really likes to hype up their guys like Emmanuel Henderson and Jalen Daniels and Daniel Highshaw. And those guys are good players, but these are guys, I mean, maybe besides Jalen Daniels, I don't see a player on Kansas's roster that would crack the starting lineup at Mizzou. I just don't. And I think we're that good, especially on defense. I'm really emphasizing the defensive side of the ball because I think we're too deep at every position on defense. And I don't even think Kansas fans have quite grasped that, including the guys that I talked to in the Behind the Enemy Lines videos. Guys, Josiah Trotter, Jalen Catalon, Damon Wilson, Darius Smith. Who do you have that's stopping these guys?
Yeah.
Who?
Their offensive line struggled with Wagner. You're not going to be able to stop Darius Smith and Damon Wilson. And then you throw in Chris McClellan, who is a fucking monster too. And then you throw in Zion Young, who's pretty good. And then you throw in Jermaine Trotter, who's going to get drafted. Then you throw in James Catalon, who's probably also going to get drafted. And he was an All-American in UNLV.
Yeah, UNLV last year.
The defense is just littered everywhere with talent. And Kansas has I forget what their wide receiver name is, but he had a really good game against Wagner.
Emmanuel
he had
Henderson.
2 touchdowns. Yeah. But I'm sorry, he's not going to do anything against us. He might have a few catches.
I could see him maybe getting loose once or twice against Toriano Pride or something in coverage, but I don't think
he's not going to win you the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Him getting 2 catches is not going to win you the game. The only way for this game to go in Kansas's favor is, like you said, if Jalen Daniels just makes absolute magic happen. And he's very capable of that. Jalen Daniels is a very good quarterback. But if he gets any sort of pressure and they're playing from behind, I don't think that he's going to be able to just willpower Kansas back into the game, which is why I think it's so important for Missouri to just come out of the gate and just punch them in the mouth.
Yeah, and we have also seen that Jalen Daniels, as electric as he is, likes to get trigger happy and sometimes leads to some really dumb turnovers. Solid against Wagner, I should say one more time. You try that against Mizzou and they're going to make you pay for it. But on the topic of Jalen Daniels, I think it's time we bring up kind of Mizzou's plan to stop him. I think this matchup is pretty much cut out for Corey Batoon, the defensive coordinator, because we know that he loves to rush with his 4 guys and drop his guys back into coverage. And that's a perfect plan against Jalen Daniels because I don't think you need to necessarily blitz Kansas a bunch of times, especially with your front 4 and how talented they are. I mean,
and you have the linebackers to contain Daniels.
Yes.
And you don't really want to get Daniels out of the pocket. You want to keep him in the pocket.
Yeah. And force him to throw. You only want to rush 3 or 4. Drop your guys back, especially those safeties, those uber talented safeties. And like you said, keep Daniels contained inside the pocket, maybe put a quarterback spy on him. I really like Khalil Jacobs in that role if I were to pick one of the linebackers, because I think he's really got that sideline to sideline ability.
He's probably our fastest guy in the linebacking.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. So that's kind of what I'm thinking Corey Batoon is going to do in this game. And he's just going to tell the defensive line to pin their ears back and go after it. Maybe not the most aggressive rush plan because, again, you want to keep Jalen Daniels contained. But I don't think at the same time Corey Batoon's telling Damon Wilson, hey, if you have a straight lane at this guy, go and get him and go knock that ball out too. Yeah,
for sure. I'll say one more thing. This is the first time that we're going to see Bo Pribula against a FBS opponent, Power 4 opponent. So there might be a few growing pains there where we don't really know what we're going to get from him. He looked really good against Central Arkansas, but that's Central Arkansas. And I think Mizzou has the talent on the offensive side of the football where you can kind of mitigate that and you can just hand it off to Ahmad Hardy. And like we talked about with that matchup, Missouri's offensive line, while we might have our concerns about it in pass protection, it looked pretty good in the running game. And with Kansas's lack of linebackers, you're going to have Ahmad Hardy be able to get 5, 6, 7 yards a carry in this game. You're going to have why am I blanking on his name right now? Our other running Jamal Roberts. You're going to have him be able to get 4 or 5, 6 carries, or 4 or 5 or 6 yards per carry every single time. Kevin Coleman, I think, is going to be able to just torch these Kansas corners. Joshua Manning going to be able to block against them, going to be able to do the dirty work.
Who do they have that's covering Marquise Johnson? That's my question.
Yeah, like if we get good enough pass protection, Marquise Johnson's going to be able to go right down the center of the field, run by everybody. Bo Preview hit him 50-yard deep ball, done.
Yeah, no, because even if Preview, like, I'm not saying it's a guarantee that Preview is going to hit Johnson, accurately every single time, but he's going to get open a couple times. Question is, can you hit it? Because if you do, like, that's kind of your opportunity to run away with this game. I think the RPO game, we didn't see it too much against Central Arkansas, which I think is a good thing because you're kind of saving it for a game like this. But, like, especially with the linebackers out for Kansas, Joseph Sibb, Kamara, the other guy came in from South Carolina. Like, they were supposed to head that linebacker unit. They're down both those guys. And, yeah, that is a bad matchup when you have guys that can run the ball as good as Ahmad Hardy and Bo Pribula.
For sure.
I actually wanted to – I should have done this a lot earlier. I wanted to throw this graphic up, though, that kind of highlighted some of the stats from both teams. I actually want to say before I stole this from that SEC podcast, so Cousin Shane, please don't sue me. But they do a great job with these graphics. And obviously this is small sample size for both teams. And also against cupcakes for both teams. But I see a lot of categories for Kansas there, Brayden, where they rank in the low hundreds, pass defense efficiency, rush defense efficiency, third down offense. The only really weak area for Mizzou you see is the offensive or the pass offense efficiency. And I'm not even totally sure, that's I don't know how that or it came to that, how they reflected that, because I thought the offense was extremely efficient both in the run and passing game in week 1 against Central Arkansas. But either way, it's Central Arkansas. But you see Mizzou, number 1 in explosive plays defense, number 17 in explosive plays on offense. Third down defense is great. Third down offense is great. And Kansas has only played Fresno State and Wagner thus far. And like I said, they're ranking in the low 100s in some of those categories. They're 52 in explosive plays on defense. That means they're allowing explosive plays to Wagner and Fresno State. I see a lot of areas to exploit on that Kansas football team, Brayden.
I 100% agree. I think the biggest thing that I wanted to look at there was Kansas's third down efficiency versus Missouri's third down defense. Like, our third down defense was
pretty
one of the
massive discrepancy.
Our third down defense is one of the best in college football last year. I'm pretty sure they were number 3. If Kansas has issues on third downs and they have issues in play calling like they did last year, like I said, going to be a long game, going to be a long bus ride back home.
Yeah, no, and I think I don't remember who was ahead of them nationally, but they had the number 1 third down defense in the SEC last year. I know that, and it's a lot of the same guys, but I think, me and you both agree, like, they also improved in a lot of areas too on defense, a defense that was already pretty good last year. I'm not seeing a path to Kansas victory outside of Jalen Daniels having an over my dead body game. And that is possible, I think, but Mizzou's defense is really good. We love them. I also think the offense, even though there's still questions about, like, what does Bo Preview look like against a team like this? Or, how do you balance the run and the pass game? What about the offensive line? Bo Preview is a good enough runner. You can mitigate some of the offensive line struggles. Yeah. We saw that even in game 1, because there were plays in that game, even when the offensive line was having their drive in which they struggled, like Bo Pribula never really panicked the same way Brady Cook would always immediately run to his right every time he felt pressure. You're going to be able to mitigate some of that. But also, like, I think Drinkwitz and Kirby Moore have built this offense to control the time of possession. It's a ball control offense that can eat up clock if it has to. But, and I know it was Central Arkansas, and I'll continue to reiterate that, but they scored on every single drive. They actually lost the time of possession battle against Central Arkansas and put up 61 points. And
yeah,
if this team is truly that good on offense, but also has the ability to, pound the rock and eat up clock if it wants to, like, to have those two options, I just think this could be the type of game where Mizzou could really name their score.
I hope so. God, it's 11:20. I got to get up and go to school at 6:30 in the morning tomorrow. But it's Wednesday night. The game is on Saturday, and this game cannot escape my mind. I am so fucking ready for it, Josh.
So I have a couple of questions for you, and then I know you kind of, probably have a few more thoughts before we wrap up the actual preview and give score predictions and stuff. But do you have any hot takes for this game? Like, you think there's a player that we're not talking about maybe necessarily that you think is in for a huge game, or do you just have a shocking prediction of what you think is going to happen in this game? Anything like that?
Marvin Burke gets an interception, and whatever kicker we have hits a 50-yarder.
Robert Meyer, the true freshman.
Yeah, I think he's going to hit a 50. He was fine. He hit everything.
Well, he was pretty highly rated as well coming out of high school.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, Drink's done a really good job getting kickers. So
yeah, still not ideal to lose Blake Craig, but
no, not at all.
Someone pointed this out on the Power Mizzou message board, but Robert Meyer, he posts TikToks of himself kicking in the Mizzou facility, and he's posted videos where he pretty easily can hit from 50, 55 plus.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's a scrub. Now, I'll be curious to see what Drinkwitz's approach is on 4th and short. I think this is the type of game, and I think this might still be the case even if you had Blake Craig, but I think Drinkwitz is going for the jugular in this game. I think you're going to see him be aggressive on 4th down regardless of the kicker situation.
No, I definitely think that Drinkwitz is going to be balls to the wall. He is going to do everything in his power to win this game and win this game big.
Yeah, like, this is the type of game where you don't care if you run up the score. You're not doing the whole games. There is no gamesmanship. There's no such thing as gamesmanship against a team like Kansas. There can't be. And I think, again, that's what separates Drinkwitz from Leipold in this situation is I think Drinkwitz understands that. I think Leipold doesn't. I think Leipold's your typical Midwest football head coach that is blue collar and, he's a nice guy. It's the same thing that, like, K-State fans would tell you about Chris Kleiman. Like, just
can I say something?
Yeah,
I will agree with Michael Darcy on one thing. Since I watched your guys' video earlier, I will 1,000,000% agree with him. I hate K-State fans significantly more than I hate Kansas fans. They're the most insecure cuck chair fucking fan base in the entire country. And they cannot stop trying to make this game about themselves. And Mizzou and Kansas fans are both kind of agreeing on it. And it's like, shut the fuck up.
They think
you are not a part of this.
Than they are. They need to worry about beating FCS North Dakota.
Yeah, like, you guys need to go worry about Avery Johnson cutting his fucking hair and beating North Dakota. That's what you need to go worry about.
And preventing his family from beating people up outside the stadium.
Yeah, exactly. That too. So no, I will agree with Michael on that. Absolutely nothing else. But that one thing, I will 1,000,000% agree with him on. K-State fans are worse.
Yeah, no. That said, though, I mean, Kansas fans have been nothing short of annoying this week because, again, I don't understand where the confidence is coming from. Because even the job that Lance Leipold has done, and yeah, he gets credit for bringing Kansas out of the dumpster. But
Bars the floor for him.
Yeah, but it's still only, one winning season in the last...
And they didn't even win a bowl game.
No.
They lost the bowl game that we dodged them into fucking Arkansas, who we beat.
Yeah, and Jalen Daniels, as great as he's been as well, like, it's the 6th year of college football. Like, even in his best
season, get a job.
Even in his best season at Kansas, they finished the year, like, 6-7 or something like that. Like, I think that was the same year they lost.
Yeah. Because they didn't even he wasn't even the fucking quarterback whenever they won.
Yeah, like that's kind of isn't that kind of depressing if you're a Kansas fan?
Little
Like
bit.
that's what you have to show for the whole
Like
the entire
you're
the entire Jalen Daniels era. The most you had to show for was a bowl appearance. That's it.
yeah.
Brayden, I know you were kind of wanting to give a history lesson to Kansas fans. I don't know if you have anything actually for this preview on that, but you seemed kind of fired up about it earlier. What
Yeah.
exactly is all that about?
So I got into it with a few Kansas fans, and it's just the typical Kansas fans. Oh, you're a Missouri slaver. You guys burn Kansas. You guys are for slavery. You're a slaver. This, that, and the other. So I decided to give them the history lesson that I was given my senior year of high school on what the border war was, and some more things that I learned about it over time throughout college. I took an anthropology class from an anthropologist who does border war historian and finds border war artifacts. Really cool person. But it inspired me to look into the history of the border war. And let's start with this. Let's start with what the Jayhawkers truly were. They were led by Charles Jennings, or Charles Jensen. Charles Jensen was one of the leaders, and then James Lane, who was a United States Senator. Those were the two leaders of the Jayhawkers group. This is what the Union commander had to say about the Jayhawkers, if my phone will let me pull it up. But I'm not sure if it will. Let's see.
It's okay. Sometimes you have technical difficulties in the classroom.
Although organized and equipped as U.S. military units, the Jayhawkers in practice recognized no higher authority. Not only did they often prove militarily useless to the Union cause, their murderous and thieving ways increased sympathy for the Confederacy among Missourians. So let's get this straight. Jayhawkers caused more people to turn to the Confederacy. Jensen's and Lane's command spent the fall months in Missouri's Jackson, Lafayette, and Pettis counties looting and killing indiscriminately. That meaning they didn't care if you were pro-slavery or anti-slavery. They didn't give a fuck who you were. They were going to loot and steal your shit. Doesn't sound like a group of heroes that I would want to name my school after to me. In short order, the new commander of the Department of Missouri, Major General Henry Halleck, general for the Union Army, said he had had enough. These men do not belong in this department and have no business to come within the state, he wrote to Washington in January of 1862. I have directed General Pope to drive them out, or if they resist, to disarm them and hold them prisoner. Jayhawkers were thieves and should have been put in prison. Again, not something I think we would want to name our school after. But hey, go ahead, Kansas, do your thing. They are driving good. This is a direct quote from Henry Halleck. They are no better than a band of robbers and are driving good Union men into the ranks of the secession army. Summing up the damages of the Jayhawkers were doing, Halleck warned that if the federal government allowed men such as Lane and Jensen to operate within approval, it may resign all hope of a pacification of Missouri. Jayhawkers are fucking terrible. The entire idolization of John Brown and Lane and Jensen is absolutely astonishing to me. The fact that there is a school named after their band of fucking thugs is beyond me. Whereas, let's look at the Missouri Tigers. You want to know
National
who led
heroes.
the Missouri? You want to know who led the Missouri Tigers? James Rollins. You know who James Rollins was? He was a senator for Missouri who took up arms and protected Columbia, Missouri. You want to know what else this motherfucker did? He gave a speech because Abraham Lincoln wanted him to. Josh, you remember watching the movie Lincoln?
Yes.
This speech is in the movie Lincoln. This speech is in the movie Lincoln. Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln went directly to James Rollins, because he wanted him to give a speech on the 13th Amendment and the passing of it. And I'm pretty sure that speech is in the movie. Rollins was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 1860 and again in 1862. He was a staunch unionist and gave it hearty efficiency support to every measure for the suppression of the rebellion. In his long, successful career as a public servant, he played a prominent role in many of the most important issues of the era. However, there is little doubt that Rollins' biggest labors were in the support of the University of Missouri as well. This dude created Missouri, basically. And let me try and find where
I hope everyone's taking notes that's watching this right now, especially Kansas fans that I'm sure will watch this to complain about whatever our predictions are.
I hope so.
Oh, they'll definitely be here. They were already on my other video. They were on our Central Arkansas review, even talking about this game. So they're lurking. They are for sure lurking around here.
I know. I just saw it. Okay, yeah. Perhaps his most memorable congressional contribution was regarding the 13th Amendment. When the amendment bogged down in the House, President Lincoln personally sought out Rollins to change his vote and help secure passage of the amendment. After Rollins delivered an eloquent speech to the House in favor of the amendment, it narrowly passed with the necessary 2/3 majority. This dude is the reason for the 13th Amendment. The dude who is a part of the Missouri Tigers, the original Missouri Fighting Tigers, got the 13th Amendment passed with his speech. That is what Mizzou is built off of. Kansas, the Jayhawkers, are built off of nothing but thieves and thugs.
And now, hopefully, you guys understand why there's so much hatred in this rivalry. For those who subscribe to this channel who maybe are our age.
Jayhawkers killed good, innocent Missourians for no reason.
And look, this rivalry goes a lot deeper than football. And I think it's interesting because they even asked Bo Preview about that in the press conference earlier this week. And he said, I thought it was just a sports rivalry. Now, he said he thought that, which I think is important because it shows that, clearly Drinkwitz brought in the right people to educate the players on this. Because I hope probably talked a lot about it.
They should have brought me in. They should have brought me in.
Should have brought you in? Well, maybe they might. They might next time around.
They killed innocent Missourians.
Because I think as long as this game is played, I think Drinkwitz will probably do this every offseason.
Yeah.
As long as Kansas is on the schedule. So maybe he'll get brought in next time. I mean, this was your moment. This is your promo. Eli Drinkwitz, get him in there.
One last thing. General Order 11 is so fucking insane. Everybody needs to look it up because that was also caused by the Jayhawkers, where all the bordering counties of Missouri and Kansas had to be burned down by the Union because Jayhawkers wouldn't stop fucking shit up.
Yeah.
Not just slavery people shit, everybody's. They were going in burning down everybody's stuff, just killing them just because they wanted to, because they could.
Yeah,
whereas the Missouri Tigers, no, they were protecting Columbia from Confederate guerrillas in Missouri, and their leader was getting the 13th Amendment passed. Jayhawkers killed innocent Missourians. Missouri Tigers got the 13th Amendment passed.
There you guys have it. That is your history lesson for this video, on top of what I think has been a pretty thorough preview of this game. Brayden, I know you're fired up, and look, that was a perfect way to close it out. So I think this is a perfect time for you to give your score prediction for this game, what you think is actually going to happen. I'm sure I have a feeling that your prediction isn't just going to be a score. You're going to have details laid out how exactly it's going to go. So how is this going to go?
Mizzou's going to score on the opening drive. Kansas is going to go 3 and out. Mizzou's going to score again. Kansas is going to go 3 and out again. Mizzou's going to score again. It's going to be 21-0 by the end of the first quarter. And then Kansas might get a touchdown at some point in the second quarter, but it's going to be 35-7 at half. And then we're going to absolutely run away with it, 55-10.
I love it. Hey, do you think we see Matt Zollers in this game?
Yes. Actually, no. Pribula plays the entire fucking time. They're running hurry up. No, 30 seconds left. Drink runs hurry up to score another touchdown.
Do you think he takes a timeout? Or do you think he tries icing the kicker for Kansas?
He pulls a hypel. He pulls a hypel, runs it up. Kansas gets down to try and kick a field goal late to try and do something. Call a timeout.
Okay, so I'll give my prediction here in a second, but I have another question for you, actually. So, Drinkwitz, I think, has been pretty respectful of the opponent in this one. And really both sides have been. They've talked the other team up. I think, they're trying to lay out the rat poison, right? It's all coach speak. But Drinkwitz, when he first came to Mizzou, he was this, guns a-blazing, trash talker. And a lot of it ended up backfiring on him. And then he kind of pulled it back a little bit, matured as a coach. But every now and again, he'll still throw out a snarky comment, especially after a big win. Drinkwitz has been pretty respectful to this point of Leipold and Kansas. Do you think if Mizzou wins, Drinkwitz, we see a little bit of vintage Drinkwitz, trash talking?
I think so. I think we get him kind of like it was after the Tennessee game. That was the last really good Drinkwitz moment.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking.
He had a few good quotes after the Oklahoma game last year, but I feel like this will be like the Tennessee game from 2 years ago.
You think he'll say anything to Leipold? You think? What are the odds? No, actually, what are the odds? What odds would you put that we actually don't get a Drinkwitz Leipold handshake?
I don't think that Drink and Leipold have anything against each other. I don't think that there's any bad blood there. There's nothing between the two coaches, and I don't really think there ever will be. Whereas what happened with Heupel, there's reason for bad blood there.
Yeah.
And I 100% get why Drink did what he did and said he stands on business and he iced the kicker. He had every fucking reason to do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
Heupel,
there's no reason for him to do that with Leipold because Leipold hasn't done anything for as much shit as I give Kansas. Leipold, he doesn't do anything wrong. He doesn't say anything.
He's Chris Kleiman.
Yeah, he's boring.
Yeah,
nothing.
No, I agree. So my score prediction, I've been consistent with it. I say Mizzou 40, Kansas 21. I hope it's more than that. I hope Mizzou wins by more than that. But the reason I say that is because I do think it will be a close game in the first half because it is an emotional rivalry. I think, there will be a lot of nerves for both sides. I think it'll be close in the first half. But then I think Mizzou's depth, the sheer amount of talent, that's what's going to carry them in the second half. You're going to see them start to pull away. And again, the defense, that's really what I'm hitting on this week is the defense. I think that's what's going to really carry them to victory. I just think when it's the third and fourth quarter and those Kansas offensive linemen have been trying to block Zion Young and Damon Wilson and all those guys all freaking day, eventually they're going to get worn down. They're going to let up. You might see some turnovers. And yeah, that's how I see it going. I think Mizzou's talent will eventually allow it to pull away in the second half.
Your take is probably a lot more realistic than mine. And in my brain, I 1,000,000% agree with you. In my heart, 1,000,000 to nothing.
Well, I think your prediction, I know it's obviously what you want, but I don't think it's unrealistic.
It's not that unrealistic.
Yeah, I think Mizzou can they 100% have the ability to run away with this game. And I think the most unlikely result would be Kansas running away with it. That would be the most shocking result, the least likely, I think.
Yeah.
And I think Mizzou running away with it is they have the ability to do that.
Yeah. One last thing really quick. If we rush the field, all of this is negated. Yeah. Kansas wins. If the Mizzou student body rushes the field, I will never go to a Mizzou game again.
Yeah. Can we let's put that out there. I know it's not like the Mizzou student body will be watching this video, but I hope as many people as possible see it because I've seen some talk from, Mizzou social media that because the university has told the fans not to rush the field for any game because they don't want to pay the fine, understandably, but also you should not be if you beat Kansas, you don't rush the field for beating Kansas.
No, you don't rush. No, that's absolutely abysmal. If we rush the field for beating Kansas, I will never respect this university again.
Yeah, please do not do that. We don't want the athletic department losing the money either.
Yeah. It's not even about the money. I could give two fucks about the money. It's about the principle of rushing the field against fucking Kansas. You don't give them that respect. They don't deserve that respect. And basketball, sure, rush the fucking court. Football, no.
Football.
You don't they don't deserve that respect. You don't give them that.
No.
We're 6.5 point favorites.
You're not a good enough program. This if you beat well, shoot, I was gonna say like Alabama, but I don't know if they're gonna do it. I was gonna say if you beat them, sure, you can rush the field, but Kansas, no, just no.
If Bama gets their shit together and they only have the one loss going into that game and they're back in the top 10, fine, maybe. If we're not favored, maybe you rush the field.
Yeah,
maybe.
This is a take care of business game. You go out there, you do your job, you beat the fuck out of Kansas, and you go home.
Yeah, and then you look forward to the rest of the season with clear heart, blue eyes.
Yep. So I think that just about does it. I'd say that was a pretty fun preview, Brayden. But guys, definitely leave your score predictions down in the comments below. What you think this game's going to look like. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of salty Kansas fans in this one too that will leave their comments behind. Look forward to seeing the banter in the comments. But with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. So more people can find this. You can check out my work on showmefootball.com. Follow the Twitter at ShowMeFB. And then before we go, Brayden, I was going to ask your movie recommendations, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to ask you, are you in or are you out on Manager Q for the Kansas City Royals?
I'm still in.
Still in?
He makes a few rough decisions at times, but I don't think that most of the issues are with him. I think it's just the players at times. He's got a team that has had injuries to its two best starting pitchers. He's gotten them to being in a position where they could still make the playoffs.
Do you think they're dead? I guess that kind of answers that question, but are the Royals dead?
Yeah. Losing to the Angels, I've kind of given up hope. Especially with this game happening, I've very much shifted my attention.
Football season.
It's football season.
But hey, look, I mean, I don't think anyone's.
I hate saying that because I like baseball more than I like football, but it's football season. Royals, if they make the playoffs, I'll be happy. But my attention is elsewhere.
Yep. Well, there you guys have it. So I think that's pretty much it. Anything else you wanted to add, Brayden?
Nope.
All right. Well, I think that's it. So we'll see you guys in the next one. But as always, MIZ.
Fuck KU.